Chris Sampson, your friend here in Kyiv. And we already see some friends joining. Maybe you're up late or you're up early. I don't know what time it is for you, but you know I don't go live very often this time, but I'm going to today. And then I'm going to go get my fucking coffee and I'm going to write a cathartic piece today about the attempted salvaging of the good Russian. I wake up this morning to one of my Ukrainian friends trying to explain to, I'm going to just call it what it is, white liberals. And everyone knows me. I'm not a conservative. I fucking hate MAGA. I am not in that category. I am not a centrist. I am a radical for change in the world at a level that most white liberals can't handle. And especially when they go around clutching their pearls and try to be all like, but Navalny. So, yeah, here's a rant. All right. This Oscar winner who made a movie, you know, it could have been a thing where it was just a, oh, okay, he made a movie. But boy, did they rush to drop to their knees for that Russian. And when my Ukrainian friends raise the problem, they get lectures. And that'll piss me the fuck off. All right? You don't lecture. Just like I don't lecture women about how to deal with men, because I think I need to go to men and lecture men about how to deal with men. Or if I don't go to the black community, go, you know, the thing is with what you have to understand about, no, I don't have to, no. Always go to the category that's the fucking violator. That's the only category you ever have to go to. You do not go to the category of people who've been taking the shit forever and say, you know, the thing you don't understand about males is that we just blah, 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 blah. Fuck that shit. That's fucking ignorant shit. And I'm fucking sick of it. And I'm not exactly known for holding my opinion back when it comes to things like this. Sorry. That's what some people respect about it. But oh my God, at least let me qualify. These are two Australians, so they live far fucking away from drones and missiles and crushed buildings and the devastation of Russian aggression and war on a daily level while they go, Slava Ukraini. Oh, but the Oscar winner was so good. But Navalny, one of them literally has in their profile, literally, and I'm not a psychotherapist or a doctor, but I know that there's a cognitive problem when you have, you know, Slava Ukrainian in your profile under the name Emo Brigadier. First off, can we start using real fucking names, Bled? Can we start using, my name is Chris Sampson, okay? It is my name. It is the name my parents gave me. It's the name I always use. And when you ever see an account on Twitter that's called NatSec Media, that's because that's the news work, but it literally has my name on it. And I don't operate under that as much now because I want to make sure people, when they fucking speak for their fucking names, you know? And so Emu Brigadier is really a big sign that someone cannot stand by their names, okay? And out comes Jane Castle. Jane Castle with her clutching her fucking pearls while trying to lecture a Ukrainian about what they don't understand about the documentary maker. The literally in her fucking phrase says, the one Russian who does. Yeah, the one fucking Russian who does. Yeah, who couldn't even mention Ukrainians in his acceptance speech, who could not even talk about the war as being Russia's terrorist war against Ukrainians. I want the wars to stop. That's the fucking problem. That is the fucking problem right now. That is why this war continues. Because you're too stupid to understand what the active measures of the modern age is. It's ballet, or my thesis, which I need to publish this out. I'm so sorry. I reference it all the time. It was work we did about a year and a half ago called The Cultural Product, the difference between Russians and Ukrainians. And it boom, as I was doing, it's like, you can't stop a genocide when you have tickets to the Bolshoi, was the phrase that came out. Or as someone said, but it's not the Russian absurdist poet's fault. Yes, it is. Because that's how you disguise the imperial aggression, is through fucking poetry, through fucking sports, through science consortiums. Okay? Get a fucking education about Russian active measures. They didn't just go run around spy at the State Department. They infiltrated education. They infiltrated the arts. They infiltrate through sports. They're like fucking roaches, okay? Like, oh, you don't like that? Yeah, but Navalny uses that language. And oh my God, but Navalny, we'll do a CNN documentary about him. We'll nominate that for the fucking documentary of the year. But Navalny. I know good Russian people, to be honest with you. I'm not fucking stupid. You are incapable of fucking condescending me. Not because I'm superior, but because I know that there's no human being better than me except for by their actions. There are plenty of people. My guest list usually is people I look up to by action. I make it pretty clear who I respect. But when people come to me or go to others, but you don't understand, I think you're misunderstanding. How about I disagree with you? How about I also have a better informed position on this before I open my fucking gab? Okay? So I said this is today. Let's see. I said, I don't always think of every day that I'm living in with war, but it's 1,430 something. What day am I on? 1,436 days of active fucking war. Okay? 4 fucking years ago, I was at the border at Medyka with refugees running for their fucking life from a full fucking scale war. And now we're 4 years into this, and we still got basically white privileged liberals, who in this case, they're living in Australia, but they could be living anywhere, who are like, Slava Ukraini. Oh, but it's not the Russians. It's not all of them. Can we collectively not do this? Because safe from the fucking consequences. Safe from the fucking casualties. Safe from actually sitting next to someone who's devastated, in shock, completely in shock that their fucking buildings have been destroyed as they stand there with rescue workers, picking apart the rubble, hoping to see if there's at least one survivor, and at least not a survivor, someone that they can rescue out the body and find out it's in the accountability. If you've never stood with that, don't fucking think you can lecture me about what it's like, safe from fucking Queensland or wherever the fuck these people are. And then come up on my timeline and say, well, it must be nice to be able to make the point, the point from gunpoint while you put Slava Ukraina on your profile. Let me explain how I operate. I have no problem giving you the menu. I will spoon feed you to the piranha of supporters that I know actually fucking get it, including my Ukrainian friends. I go, come here, watch this. And I'll show them. You see this? Yeah. And it's painful. It's fucking gross. And it's privileged. I would rather surround myself with people who stop for a moment and go, fuck, I think I've done that. I won't do that again. I didn't think about it, but I've made a mistake. Okay? We've all made mistakes. We've all had a good intention twisted around. I've had to sit down and inventory what they look like, but that's how I learned. I'm 56, okay? I've learned a lot of shit the hard way by good intentions, by trying to get it right, by trying to listen. I've insulted women when I didn't mean to. I've insulted, people who've been through hell when I didn't mean to, because I've never said, well, but men something. I've never defended men. I think men don't deserve that, really. So that's not a category. But I'm sure there's got to be somewhere where I fucking made that mistake. I know. I absolutely have to have. I know, because there's this little pang. It's called compunction. Compunction is your best friend. It's that little thing that goes inside. I think that didn't come out right. Hold on, reword it. That right there. Even if you get that little moment, like, I think the sensitivity that if you're standing in front of someone and you go, I better mid-sentence reword that, or that's going to sound like I'm an asshole. Clear, bona fide fucking asshole. An unintentional one, no less, I'm sure. Okay? But it is gross privilege to sit back from thousands of miles away. And I've been watching this go on for 4 fucking years, over and over again. Get lectured by different supporters who think they understand the war. And the moment you push back even just a little bit about something that not that I guess, but I can see that they do not understand, boy, do they get butthurt. Above critique. Above any kind of critical evaluation of what they're saying while they're doing the same thing. And they do it over and over again. And the But Navalny is the best example. But he was trying to, why speak? I see it no different as basically in one breath trying to explain Malcolm X and the next trying to salvage a Klan member, I'm just not wired that way. Bust the Klan member in the fucking face and move the fuck on. I leave the counter extremism side to other people for a reason. I am not capable of doing some of that shit. With some average people who make some bigoted comments, I'm triggered as fuck to want to basically call their shit out of saying, "What'd you just say?" Yeah, because that's how I'm going to do it with them. Do I understand trying to off-ramp them? Of course, I want to off-ramp them. But I am not the guy that wants to sit around and try to salvage basically the white supremacy movement of the world and all of its garbage, or the toxic masculinity that wants to tell women how they should be living their lives, and if they need to be conducting this way and that way so they could get it. No, 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 no. I would rather police myself. Like I'm the type of guy that says, should I be saying to women, hey, where's the smile today? Isn't that the same sort of patriarchal problem that started creating the problem in the first place? And maybe she doesn't want to smile because the world around her shit. I've done it. And then I went, God, what an asshole. What an asshole to be walking around saying, hey, where's the smile today? Why aren't you smiling? Hey, like that's an example. Until someone not aimed at me, I got lucky in that case, not aimed at me, said to, hey, women kind of get tired of that shit? Like, I really appreciate our friend Aziza coming on the other day, saying, instead of give me flowers, give me change. Amen. Absolutely. And in the same category for Ukrainians, instead of giving them tears about, variable, how about stop fucking trying to find the good fucking Russians and defeat the fucking Russians? That's how we get there. You want to make a Ukrainian woman happy? Defeat the fucking Russians. Better than fucking flowers. Promise you. Now, I'm going to write about this today. I like to write. I just cathartically just pound at the fucking keyboard. Because it's really goddamn gross. And you guys know that. I'm bitching to the choir. Forgive me. You're my therapy in the morning to get up and go, okay, I know someone will get this. And I'm always looking forward to the fact that someone won't. And those people need to be politely called out. If you have a far better, gracious, diplomatic way of telling some idiot out there you're the problem, and Chris was just trying to tell you, please be the one that makes that pill go down. I have a good friend of mine that he unfortunately gets stuck in that category because he lives between the bridges of my world of truthiness and honesty and the world of MAGA and vet bros in this case. And they go up and say a bunch of shit on Facebook, and I come in and just fucking eviscerate it. Like, the rising left-wing violence in America, that's just no, there's no rising left-wing violence in America. The violence in America is disproportionately right-wing. That's a fact. That's a data point. I'm a 12 years counterterrorism data guy. I have the numbers, sorry. And I come in all guns blazing and knock that shit hard. And they don't like it. And then I tap my friend and say, John, yeah, now make the pill go down. Bye. But my friends, they go, is it a fact? Did I state a fact? Yeah. Then make the pill go down. I'm not here to make your friends digest the truth. That's your specialty, Noah. In fact, it's his specialty. He's really good at that part. And they like to listen to him because he can code talk that back to them. I don't give a fuck. As far as I'm concerned, eliminate them in every other way possible. I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, friends. It's 1,482 days of full-scale war. 1,482 days of full-scale war. The United States was in World War II for 1,365 fucking days. The greatest generation fought the Nazis and the Japanese for 1,365 fucking days, and we immortalized it forever. We're approaching a fucking century since that. And now this is 1,482 days. It's 4,408 days since the Russians tried to take the country the other way through hybrid warfare, through Crimea, through Luhansk and Donetsk, and started killing Ukrainians over 12 years ago. At what point do people wake the fuck up and say, I'm part of the problem accidentally. I didn't mean to be, but I am. How can I improve? That's really what's required. And I will die this way. Period. It's the only way to live. Be honest with yourself. We all make mistakes. If you're one that's not in category, please know I don't mean you. And really, self-check. If the shoe fits is always my application. If the shoe fits, I have been raised by basically black liberation nationalists since I was a teenager who taught me a lot of shit that I saw when I go right back into especially that was before I became a white boy manager in east side of Houston, 5th Ward, Sunnyside, Manchester, Latino neighborhoods, black neighborhoods. And I would sit there and watch a white manager say shit looking like I do, say that to me. I go, I see it. I see what it is. Oh, no, but I mean well. Sure. I see men say stuff about women that they would never say to women to their face. They say it right in front of me. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that. Say it. Just, men say shit in front of me all the time about women that they would never say to a woman. And they say there's white folks that say shit about other people that they would never say in front of those different groups. I will. I will call you out in front of them. I will drag you in front of them one way or the other and call your ass out because I'm here to subvert that shit. I'm here to destroy white supremacy and male-dominated world at its root by challenging, especially like I've always said, racism isn't really my weakness because I got lucky to have had, it sounds strange, but I got lucky that after my dad died, my grandmother unfortunately had a white supremacist that lived in our house and beat the fuck out of me for 3 years. So I've seen the devil. Boom. I'm not in the dark. I understand many people have not. They have great parents. Both things worked out. Like my parents were racist. My dad would have beat the shit out of a racist. Actually, my dad was very anti-racist for a guy from Arkansas. He even said that. He said, I come from Lone Ark where we heard that stuff all the time. We don't talk like that. But I got to see one up close, which made me like really night and day about it for the rest of my life. So in a really weird way, it's a blessing. And from that day on, what happened is I could code switch. So I can code switch, meaning I can get guys who look like me to say what they really think. And then basically, if I'm really in a good mood, I'll say, hey, have you thought about maybe you're wrong? But that's not really what I want to approach. I don't want to approach the obvious cases. I want to approach the ones that are so perniciously broken. Like I come from, essentially, when I worked at KPFT, it was surrounded by people who call themselves progressives. Basically, I would just call it what it is, white liberals. And they patronize people around the world all the time, and they just don't see it. And I know they mean well. They're in the category. So it's easy. It's like I always say, it's easy to pick on the Klan guy because he's wearing a hood and he's got all of his Klan shit or MAGA shit. That's easy. That's the category that's so easy to identify. The one that's hard to identify is the white liberal. The one who basically created more problems by virtue of trying to salvage their way through white supremacy in a whole different rational way that fails. And it's happening now when it comes to Ukraine. When I wake up and see an account, the first off, for those who just joined us, can't even identify themselves. These accounts that go under names that are no different than cat turd. If your name is Emu Brigadier from Australia, and you've got Slav Ukrainian in one part of your profile, and I'm a Russophile in the other one, you need to go to a therapist. And if you're not especially if you're in Australia and you look like I do, and you're in Australia and you're not an anti-colonialist, you're the problem. I mean, I watch New Zealanders who lose their shit about Haka. You're the problem. Look in the fucking mirror. You don't belong there. You're the ancestors of the invaders. At least exhibit this. And I go through this reality check. This reality check is so important to us to step back and say, what are we trying to reclaim? What are we trying to rebuild? And the Save Navalny movement, it was a great example. But I recently, there's a account on Instagram that I really appreciate that's hard to watch. It's painful to watch. Konkawa is one of the tribes in Texas that I always grew up hearing about, but I never knew anyone from there. And there's more than one account, but there's one in particular. Boy, is she calling out exactly what's wrong with colonial white American immigrant stock that keeps trying to save the America that took over the land that she and her ancestors derived from. And she calls out the imperial language every time she makes a post. And I have to go, wow, okay, I probably do talk like that. I don't want to, but I need her to say those things. The more she says those things, the more I grow. And I already come from a family that was Czech immigrants who wound up in South Dakota with land handed to them by Grover Cleveland. Flat out, here you go, here's some land. Who cares who we stole it from? We already killed all of them. Here's your land. Okay, so I've already been conscious that my ancestors received land stolen from the Lakota, period. Who made me conscious of that? My ancestors who lived in that land, who said, it's terrible what happened, and kept farming the land. And I don't know what to tell them where to go. They're going to move back to South Czechia, to South Bohemia, basically, Strakonish. I doubt it. But they can at least adjust their words. They can sit with people who lost out every part of their being and live on in reservations and are excluded from society that they inherited, and say, I don't know what to do better, but I want to do better, and I want to learn to be better. And that's really all I'm asking folks to do, is to say it to each other, say it to themselves, and say, I always have something to learn. I'm glad, actually, in talking to you, I just realized one that I said earlier. I'm sure there is one. There's one right there. Because when that sister comes up and says, you're the problem, when you say, we need to save America, we need to, no, she says, what the fuck is the point in saving America? You mean the America that walked all over my people, destroyed everything about us, but by the way, we're still here. You don't know how to save your society, but ours is still here. We are still organically who we were when you came. You just don't get that. That's our teacher for the day at that moment, right? She is one of many. I would strongly encourage you, if you look like I do, essentially, go get help. But if you look like I do, go sit with someone in a different community and say, what do I sound like to you when I speak? Do I sound like I get it? And I'm not saying this to save myself, but I want to learn. I want to make sure I'm in good check, because, like I said, when I watch people beg for the redemption of the good Russian and the praising of the documentary, and actually, I think that the documentary that guy made should have been made. Absolutely, the indoctrination of children, into the Russian imperialism. Absolutely, no problem making that. I think that should have been made. I think he should have stood at that platform and said, and this is what's happening to children in Kherson, who are being forced to adopt Russian identity when they do not have Russian identity, when they are in fact Ukrainian. And it's a travesty. Okay, that's when he would have been a hero. And still then, he's a typical fucking Russian who went up and took the trophy and said nothing but, both sides, I want the wars to stop. You mean you want Ukrainians to stop fighting so that the Russians take over and eliminate every one of them? Subjugate them again? Was that what you mean? If the answer was going to be no, then if you're such a great orator to make film and get on stage and take an Oscar of all things, then say the other thing. Because I guarantee you, if I ever was put on stage to receive such a thing, it would make history. Because I would go up there and I would be practicing every day. I got one shot. I got one moment in the history of human beings to ever say the thing most important to say. And there have been people who have said those things. There have been people who even turned down such awards because they had something so profound about politics to say that they knew that was not the audience that would hear it. And I'm going to be very clear. I'm not going to play nice about this. I'll find my most diplomatic skills to at least get the information to go down, because I think that's sometimes required, maybe a little bit, perhaps. But frankly, when someone then responds that my point back to them is too sharp, like, really? Yeah, okay. But I have fucking drones from the Russians flying over my position all the time to kill Ukrainians. I live at the top floor of a building near the river, the great river Dnipro. Okay, it takes me about 4 minutes to walk to the river. And the battle of good and evil happens over this all the time. And so I really don't want to hear someone who claims to be a pro-Ukrainian chatterbox. First off, again, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it again. Can we get over the anonymous accounts? The anonymous sit behind and the disinhibition is the word that is really required for there. Disinhibition, to hide behind an anonymous account and talk shit. Get out there with your name and say, I believe the following. I believe Ukrainians didn't do enough to get everyone on their side, and there's good Russians. Just say it with your face, so we can just see who you are. Because I think it's absolutely gross. And I think it's really crazy. So I recently heard the name Middle East was given by imperialists, and now I can't unhear it because of where it's located from London versus part of Asia and Africa. It is. I totally understand. Yeah, actually, awareness of the Balfour agreements and all of that era. Again, this isn't. I think you make a really good point, Courtney. Is that there are a lot of things like, I don't know anyone who says the Oriental and Occidental world anymore, because someone came along and said, "You understand how that, you know." I get that, and the learning process doesn't have to be so painful. It's painful usually. You know when it's painful, I think, is when we hold on to something, when we just can't let go of the thing that we really were trained to do. In my generation, I'm 56. We were trained with so many things that were really terrible. I mean, I grew up with movies that made women trophies. If you're really the nice guy and you did all the things right, then the jock who was so terrible, he'll lose the hard way and she'll run away with you and everything. No, that is not how the world works, and women are not trophies. Period. I'm lucky that I learned that a long time ago. But yeah, I think that's a very, very valuable lesson to know that for those who don't know, I didn't grow up in the woke movie period. We had Porky's, Animal House, Private Lessons. We had so many movies that were just designed for young men to see tits. And I'm using that word because that's what the movie was about. That's literally what the movie was about. The whole plot line was to see breasts. They were born seeing breasts, but suddenly we got to run back to find them, and we got to have a whole adventure because someone's got to put some money into a movie budget for some absolutely stupid shit. Which is why I love the movie Time Bandits. It's a great movie. Time Bandits, wonderful movie. But even then, you know, it's like there's so many movies, so many song lyrics. Oh my God, don't get me on the song lyric discussions. Because I listen to them now and go, I hadn't caught that lyric before today. Oh my God, is that a thing? And all of a sudden, I don't enjoy that album as much as I used to enjoy it because it's got something in there that's just gross. Now that I heard the lyric for the first time in 40 something years, that I thought at the time was at least a groovy, funny song, or, you know, whatever it was, you know. Pop culture of the 70s and 80s or even before, filled with absolutely disgusting stuff that we just didn't have our primitive minds wrapped around just yet. And but Navalny, I'm going to say it again. I know Russians who absolutely oppose not only Putin but Russian imperialism, are 100% in the corner of Ukrainians. I have some friends here, like my friend Vladimir Zhemchugov, the last the Luhansk partisan, as he's called. Um, Zhemchugov is ethnically Russian, and he became a partisan warfare guy, literally a partisan in the 2014-2015 era. Lost his arms when the mine went off as he was putting explosives near a Russian military vehicle. And he was captured, he was tortured, he was released. And he says, I can't help what my blood is, but Russians are evil. If he can say it, white liberals in Australia can say it, unless they just don't mean it. And let's be very clear, there are so many people who wrap themselves up in the pain and suffering of some part of the world. Save the whales. And they don't mean it. They don't see it, they don't mean it, they're safe. They're privileged as all get out, and it's gross. And my job is to tell you the truth to the best of my possible messed up, obviously dysfunctional ability. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. So today's article will be entirely about that. It's time to go stir coffee. I appreciate you. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava, I Pizdets, Alexei Navalny.